What's up, you guys, and welcome back to the Stella Herself podcast. How are y'all doing on this fine Thursday? As always, don't forget to screenshot this, post it on your IG story, tag me, I'll repost you. No, but for real, thank you guys so much for all the just genuinely nice comments and messages recently. I feel like my whole comment section has just been so positive and just so many more comments. And that just really makes me happy because, knowing, like, it's one thing to see, like, a view count, but then to see, like, actual people commenting, it's, like, it makes it more real. Like, wow, we're really connecting and, like, it's more personable, So thank you guys for that. I honestly really appreciate it. And I'm really excited for just all my upcoming content and the rest of this year. I feel like this year is honestly just already going by so fast, and I have a kind of almost like a stricter or just more of a schedule with all my content these days, probably just due to the pandemic, and like there's nothing else for me to really like do. So that's all I'm doing is like just organizing everything, organizing my whole month and like everything I'm gonna post. But it just makes me think, like, what was I even doing before, bitch? Like, it's just, I don't know. Then it made me think, like, how easy it is to forget about how your life, like, how everyday life was at certain times of your life. Because, obviously we remember big events or, like, a certain vibe or theme of, certain years or whatever. But, like, the everyday routine, it's just, it seems so mundane and boring in the moment. But then it's actually very interesting to look back on. I don't know. Even little things like a food that you used to be obsessed with and you just totally forgot about. I don't know. That's why it's important to write things down, though. And that's why, honestly, I still use Snapchat to this day. I don't use Snapchat to really communicate with anyone, except my sister and I will, like, snap each other. Like, maybe a couple friends. But it's mostly just for memories, and I love the, like, 1 year ago today. Great place for memes, honestly. Anyway, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just feel very, like, tired today, I guess. And not in an unmotivated way, but just in a, like, I feel like I have so much to do, and I'm just like, fuck, I gotta keep up. Like I woke up at 5, and I was like, let me just get this workout out of the way. Like, I just feel like I've been rushing around. Also, I did get a large cold brew, which I really wanted, but I might also just be over-caffeinated. But I just feel like, fuck. It's like I don't want to just lie down and do nothing. Because I feel motivated and, like, fine. But it's like fuck. Like, let me just take a moment. Anyway, we do have a couple things to chat about today, though. But it's going to be more chill vibes. So hope you can understand. But honestly, we love a chill vibe. The first thing that I wanted to talk about, let's just get this out of the way. But this book, The Way of Zen, y'all, I don't know if I would recommend. Only because I feel like a lot of it is like, okay, get to the point. Like, I don't know. I don't love, I obviously like the ideas and learning about the philosophies, but I just feel like it could be a little more, I don't know if concise would be the word, but y'all remember last time I was talking about it, I was like, oh, it makes me feel like I'm actually reading something because it's a little bit of an older book. It's not one of these, like, more modern, like, written within the past 5 or 10 years. Like, it's a little older, so it's like, oh, I'm actually reading literature. I just feel like it's a little, like, it's like, okay. And I'm, like, looking, for things that stand out to me, things that I connect to. Like, okay, what are my talking points? And I just feel like it's very repetitive. Like, this whole chapter, I basically had, like, 2 takeaways. And I don't know if that's just me. It's like, the takeaways are good and powerful, and meaningful. But it's just, like, I feel like you could have said this a little more concisely. Maybe that's just me being lazy and used to reading, like, these more modern books these days. But I'm just, like, obviously it's a philosophy book. It's not, like, a self-help book or, I don't know. It's not a modern, this is how to do it book, which not that I was expecting that, but I do find myself not dreading to pick it up, but I'm like, okay, like, I literally need to set set aside time and really pay attention to it and like really focus. And not to like drag on it. This is not about the book though, but just the fact that it's a used book. This person, whoever read this, highlighted so much that it's like distracting, because I think I said before, like, oh, I kind of like that it's been used, because it's like, oh my god, like someone else found these things, you know, like this is what they connected to or what they thought was important. Like, that's so cool. I feel so connected to like everyone who's read this, whatever. But as I go on, it's like you don't need to highlight the entire page. It's not been that much of an enjoyable experience, but I will say that there was some good points in this chapter. The main concern of Buddhism is with a realm of experience which is non-logical and meaningless, in the sense that it does not symbolize or signify anything other than itself. There is no objection to meaningless terms. From the logical standpoint, the proposition everything is mind says no more than that everything is everything. For if there is nothing which is not mind, the world belongs to no class and has no limits, no definition. The non-verbal, concrete world contains no classes and no symbols which signify or mean anything other than themselves. Consequently, it contains no duality. For duality arises only when we classify, when we sort our experiences into mental boxes, since a box is no box without an inside and an outside. Mental boxes are probably formed in our minds long before formal thought and language supply labels to identify them. We've begun to classify as soon as we notice differences, regularities, and irregularities, as soon as we make associations of any kind. But if the word mental means anything at all, this act of classification is certainly mental, for to notice differences and to associate them with one another is something more than to simply respond. The Buddhist yoga therefore consists in reversing the process, instilling the discriminative activity of the mind and letting the categories of Maya fall back into potentiality so that the world may be seen in its unclassified suchness. We become consciously identified with the playful and purposeless character of the void. So it's just about like vibing in the moment, I guess, and like everything, it's just suchness. It just is. So it's not like, you know, oh, I would not recommend this, but I just want y'all to know what you're getting yourself into if you do decide to read this. Awakening is to know what reality is not. It is to cease identifying oneself with any object of knowledge whatsoever. Just as every assertion about the basic substance or energy of reality must be meaningless, any assertion as to what I am at the very roots of my being must also be the height of folly. The assumption that I am nothing would of course be equally wrong, since something and nothing, being and non-being, are related concepts and belong equally to the known. The conscious aspect of the Zen life is not, therefore, Satori, not the original mind, but everything one is left free to do and to see and feel when the cramp in the mind has been released. So you're free, or, you know, you reach nirvana once you let go of basically everything. Awakening almost necessarily involves a sense of relief because it brings to an end the habitual psychological cramp of trying to grasp the mind with the mind, in which turn generates the ego with all its conflicts and defenses. In time, the sense of relief wears off, but not the awakening, unless one has confused it with the sense of relief and has attempted to exploit it by indulging in ecstasy. Awakening is thus only incidentally pleasant or ecstatic, only at first an experience of intense emotional release. But in itself, it is just the ending of an artificial and absurd use of the mind. The ultimate content of awakening is never a particular object of knowledge or experience. Awakening is not to know what this reality is. That literally sums up the whole book. Okay, it's over. We're done. Anyway, let me know if you've read it. I don't think anyone has said that they've read it, so I don't know. But yeah, it's not like it's useless. Like, I'm not trying to drag on it or not recommend it, but I just want you to know the fucking vibes. But I like it. Like, I do like learning about these philosophies. And again, as I've said the last couple podcasts where I've been discussing this, I like to read about it so I can kind of think about either times that I've related to that, or like, that was ego, that was letting go, that was this, that, whatever. So now I wanted to talk about this girl's issue that she had. Well, no, she basically wanted advice on this situation, and I feel like it's a very relatable situation, so we're going to talk about it. She said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on seeing other people's achievements in comparison to your own situation and feeling anxious about not making the same strides in life as everyone else. Example, my cousin is only a few months older than me and has just purchased a house with her boyfriend, whereas I'm still living at home unsure of what I want to do next in life, where I want to live, etc. I'm very happy for her, of course, but seeing other people's achievements like that makes me feel sick about what I'm actually doing with my own life. Relatable. Is there a positive way you could turn on this topic? Would love to hear your thoughts. And then she said, I know life isn't a race, but it kind of makes you feel shitty about yourself seeing other people around you achieve these things that seem so far away from where you are. Dude, so definitely a few things come to mind. I would say, first of all, y'all have heard me say this, you've probably heard this before in general, but you just never know what someone's actually going through. And especially on social media, if you're seeing like a post of someone in front of the house they just bought, you don't know what's going on. But then also, like, in real life, you never fully know what someone is going through. And if there's anything I've learned, especially in this space of social media and, being friends in the past with people, or kind of like getting that inside peep into like influencers' lives, people just, and in general, like anyone, not even just like influencers or whatever, but people always make it seem better than it is, or exaggerate, or just straight up lie. This is an extreme example, but one time I was hanging out with this bro and he was friends with this bro, which red flag, that should have been like so obvious to me, but this bro is like known for just like, he's at every club all the time, like at every party. He's just like everywhere all the time. And so many different people know him. It's like weird. Like, how does everyone know this guy? Like, he's not an influencer. Like, he's not poppin'. He doesn't do anything. He just goes to all these parties and somehow knows a lot of people. And so he's always posting pics with like money and like in front of nice ass cars. And like, he's always wearing designer. Bitch, because the guy that I knew was friends with him, he was like, yeah, he literally like is basically homeless. Like, he's sleeping on this person's couch. He doesn't have any money. He's always asking me for money. He scams. That's how he literally makes any money. And he's just at all these parties to basically like scam people and like to try to get them to participate in his literal like scams. Like, not like he scams, but like PayPal scams. If you were to just look at this person's Instagram, like, they have a lot of followers. They're like cute, like very conventionally attractive. You would think they just like have a lot of money and they're like a model and they're like popping. But no, it's literally all a lie. And that's a very, again, extreme example. But I feel like a lot of people do this. Like, and it could even be a not on purpose thing. Just anything on social media, it's not the full picture. Like, even if you were to look at my Instagram, I don't look like that all the time. I'm not always productive. I'm not always fucking cute, okay? But it's not like I'm like trying to create that image. It's just like, I'm gonna post when I do feel cute and when I do feel productive most of the time. Like, I try to keep it real, especially in vlogs. But like on IG, I'm not gonna post a pic of me crying. Like, some people do that. That's not for me. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, you never know the full picture. So just keep that in mind. Like, you are, especially when it comes to comparing yourself, because like, you are in your body and in your mind, and you experience everything and you see everything and you have experienced everything that you've ever experienced and no one else has. Like, even your sibling or your best friend or like your parents or whatever, someone who's known you for a long time, they might know you really well, but even they have not experienced everything that you have, because we all have our own individual like path and story, and like, we know ourselves the best, So to compare the complexities and entirety of your being with someone's like IG photo or their story they're telling you, like, oh, I'm moving in with my boyfriend, we just bought a house, like, you just never know the full situation. And everyone's human, and nobody is like completely happy all the time, or like just always on this upwards like trajectory of like, my life just keeps getting better and better. Like, life is like this, And I'm just kind of realizing that more and more as well. Yeah. Even with influencers, I feel like that's just such a classic example, but someone could seem so poppin' one year and then completely fall off. And it's like, maybe last year everyone was talking about them they seemed like goals, like, wow, like I wish I was them. And then it's like something happens or they get exposed or I don't know. It's just like you never know what's going to happen. You never know what is happening. You never know the entirety of someone else's life or situation or who they are. So that's my first train of thought. Also, I would say, especially when it comes to this situation where you're like questioning your entire life and like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Dude, it just makes sense because we live in a society that perpetuates this idea of like constant growth and like, I don't know, I just feel like especially US culture, American culture, it's very like think of the American image. It's just like, oh, all smiles and like very Disneyfied, like happily ever after and like every like fairy tale and just this unrealistic picket fence, like the American dream, basically. And it's like, oh, it's all gonna be sunshines and happiness, and that's not what life actually is. So when this has been ingrained into our heads that like, oh, we need to like have life figured out by this age, or we need to like have a family by this age, or we need to like have our dream career. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I hate that question so much. And we don't fall into that even like subconsciously, because you could literally think like, okay, I don't want a traditional career. I don't want a traditional like, you know, the nuclear family, whatever. But it's still like so ingrained into us. And just like all little things, like I remember for myself, the high school counselor was like so mad that I would always say like I'm taking a gap year, because I knew I probably didn't want to go to college at least like right away, but they like get so triggered by that. So I would just be like, yeah, I think I'm gonna take a gap year, and they would get like pissed and yell at me. But even just like little comments like that, it's like you remember stuff like that, so it's gonna affect you. So my point in saying this is like it just makes sense to have that anxiety, even if logically you know, like, okay, I'm on my own path, like I'm not going to compare myself, my timing is right, whatever. It's still easy to feel that fear or that anxiety or insecurity about it. And then I guess my last piece of advice on how to try and stay positive during times like this, which again is completely normal to not feel positive. And especially these days when we're in a pandemic, I feel like a lot of us are spending a lot more time alone. So we're reflecting a lot more, and it's just easy, I think, it's one thing to be thinking about these things and like, okay, what's my next step or my next goal? But then also it can be very easy to like overthink just because we do have all this empty space and time alone and like time to fucking reflect on our entire lives. So it makes sense. But I will say my last little, again, like positive spin on this, I guess, hopeful spin on this is that life comes in cycles and seasons, and nothing is permanent. And that's just like literally a fact. That's not even like good vibes. That's like nothing's permanent. So I don't know. I know, at least for me, obviously I'm not in the exact same situation as this girl, but I definitely can relate to like, oh, comparing yourself and like, wow, like I'm not where this person is, but I should be, or like I should do this, or damn, whatever, that feeling. And then also just kind of the loneliness that comes with the pandemic, especially. And I just know what helps me is like, I try to remind myself, okay, this is just a good opportunity, not to be like grind and hustle culture, but it's a good opportunity to plan and to reflect and to think about what I want next, and to use the kind of more quiet moments where maybe there's not a lot of excitement. Maybe, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm looking forward to a trip. Oh, I'm looking forward to this next career move. It's like reflection and a lot of like, okay, what worked out before, what didn't, where do I see myself? And just kind of thinking and brainstorming like without restriction or without judgment. And, you know, especially with this situation, it's like you were able to fall back on your like living at home, so you have that kind of safety net. So you have, it may seem like less freedom, but then you have a little more freedom, at least like in your imagination, to like, okay, what do I want next? Does that make sense? I hope that's not too like posy vibes. We're gonna, because like I'm not here for like ignoring, ignoring negative emotions or just like ignoring our emotions. But I do think, you know, sometimes we do need to take a step back from especially social media and be like, okay, bitch, get it together. Like, come on. I know at least for me that works. So I hope that's helpful. I know a lot of us are going through this right now and it just makes sense. But again, like nothing is forever. Nothing's permanent. Everything passes. And yeah, nothing like a reflection. And especially since it's Mercury retrograde, bitch, it is a great time to be reflecting on these things. Again, I hope that helps. Just don't be afraid to put your phone down sometimes. Because damn, the comparisons can really get to you, whether it's about someone's life, their career, their body, like whatever. Ugh, it's like, fuck. I just, like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of pros of social media. I'm not one of those people that's like, wow, social media has ruined this generation. I think, like, people were stupid before, and social media just is a tool for stupid people to be stupid on. But I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of greatness that comes from it. But I just wonder what it would be like to like not to like especially live your 20s and especially like your teens without social media. Like, what did people used to do? Like, not saying I want to experience it, but I'm just kind of curious. Like, what? And I remember seeing a tweet or something that was like, thank God the pandemic happened now and not like in 2004 or something, like before smartphones. Anyway, that's my fucking thoughts on that. Lastly, I wanted to talk about a TikTok that I made. I really need to post more on TikTok because not every time I do, but a lot of the times I do, I'm just like ranting or sharing my thoughts. People fuck with the vision. But I basically made a TikTok talking about how, you know I've talked about it before, but the whole like energy ties, soul ties. Oh, be careful of who you sleep with because you're going to be connected to that person forever. Like, their energy is going to be with you forever. Basically how I disagree with that concept and how I feel like it's very victim blamey, slut shamey, just all of these things that we do not fuck with. And especially with victims of assault, etc., I just feel like it's so dismissive towards anyone who's experienced that, because it's like, oh, this person's gonna be with you forever. Like, maybe you shouldn't have been such a whore and you wouldn't have all this extra energy attached to you. Just because it's like under this mask of spirituality or like mysticalness, oh my god, that doesn't mean that it's not basically purity culture, as a lot of people in the comments were saying, or just misogynistic, because it's always targeted towards women. I don't see any bros talking about cleansing themselves. This girl commented on mine and was like, I don't know, girl, it seems true to me. Like, I cleansed myself of a list of over 20 bodies. It makes it seem like having sex or having casual sex is dirty and something that you need cleansing of. And it's one thing to be like if these people were making TikToks like, oh, I have had a lot of bad experiences in casual hookups or whatever, and this is what I've done to heal from it, like heal from those negative experiences. That would be one thing, because they're, I feel like, especially as women, a lot of us do have a lot of bad experiences when it comes to that. And, even if it's not outright assault, it's like coercion, or we just finally give in, or it's like we're kind of just uncomfortable, so we just go along with something. And none of that is, it's like, yeah, I don't want to count that body, but there's a difference in like healing from trauma and then just treating the whole, like every hookup, everything is bad. If you have more than one body, you are full of this extra energy and you need to be cleansed of that. Follow me for more advice. I think everyone just needs to do what they want to do and to mind their own business. A dick does not have that much power. Like, sorry, it's literally, it doesn't. And I don't know, I just really fucked with how many people were fucking with what I was saying and relating to it. And like, yeah, like I don't even remember some of these people's names. Like, how am I carrying their energy with them, like, or with me? I don't even remember them. It's just purity culture hidden by this mask of like this modern spirituality movement, and I just really disagree with it. And I think people actually need to like think constructively and think critically about either what they're listening to or what they're preaching, because people don't always see all the sides, I think. Like, I don't know. It's like, if you feel like you're going to feel better after you do a little cleanse, I don't even know what the cleanse consists of, then do it. If you're going to be like, okay, like that was in the past, like whatever, moving on, that's helpful. But it's one thing to like do something for your own personal sake, and then it's another thing to be going around shaming people and telling people they need to do this ritual to cleanse themselves of their bodies. Bitch, what? And y'all know how I feel about body counts too, because what are we counting? Are we counting times where I was coerced, or where I was uncomfortable, or where I really wanted to say no, or where I did say no? Are we counting times that I didn't orgasm? Are we counting times? Like, I just find the whole concept of it to be really dumb. And, like, I don't know. Who cares? I like to think of experiences, vibes, what I like, what I don't like. Y'all need to read Come As You Are if you haven't. Because there's some really good worksheets in there about, like, detailing a really positive experience you had, and, like, just everything about it. Like, what was the environment you were in? What were the smells? What were the, like it literally goes through everything. And then do it for, like, a bad experience. And, yeah. Again, it's one thing to, like, heal yourself from either, like, a traumatic situation, or maybe just on the lighter side, like, maybe just an uncomfortable situation, maybe just an awkward situation. And then it's another thing to be, like, this is a sin. It's not really helpful. That's very shame-focused, in my opinion. And it's like, it's so annoying. So let me know what your thoughts on that are. So, bitch, stay the fuck inside. Don't go to parties, bitch. Don't be fucking stupid. And yeah, I think that's all I'm going to discuss today. I don't feel off today. I just feel like, you know, it's a Monday. I feel very Monday vibes today. No. But thank you guys so much for listening. I hope I was able to help you in a small way. Leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube with any of your thoughts. Message me, screenshot this, post it on your IG story, tag me. Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you next week.